the voice of the West Virginia Mountaineers, sent shockwaves through me over the weekend with a statement he made on the popular Three Guys Before the Game podcast. Kind of flying under the radar right now, and I don't know why it's not being talked about a little bit more. And Couz and I are going to discuss it right after this word from our sponsor.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory today across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
This is for Cameron.
What is up, guys? Welcome in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. This is another episode of Mountaineer Paul Talk Football. As always, Couz is with me. It seems like these days we have Hoops from the Hills going strong. It's basketball season. Couz, how you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. It's always fun to be on with you.
Yeah, appreciate you for coming on, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess for whatever reason, I guess he just said this so matter-of-factly, but before we get into it, I've obviously got a clip we're going to play for everybody. This is Tony Caridi, obviously the voice of West Virginia Mountaineers, on the Three Guys Before the Game podcast, talking about the Neal Brown situation in 2024.
And we could sit here and read all those, or we can just generally theme that discussion. Because there are some people that are not happy that West Virginia won yesterday. True. There are people that are unhappy. And I'm not here to change your opinion, but I am here to give you fact. And the fact is that Neal Brown will be West Virginia's football coach next year. Now, if that makes you bummed out, I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. So for those of you that are sitting there and not happy with it, that's the world. And
it should be a head coach next season.
Why wouldn't?
I mean, it's not even. It's off the table for discussion. Probably has been for a while here. There's just no reason to have the discussion here.
Holy crap, dude! What do you think about that? That's a heck of a thing to say. I can't believe he come out and said that. Obviously, to me, it feels like Ren Baker has to be involved here somewhere. I don't think Tony would have to go ahead for something like this. We know that things get leaked through the media.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your take on this, because he flat out said, you don't like it? I'm sorry. Neal Brown's going to be back in 2024.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things about this that I find interesting. Number one, I wasn't surprised, but it did kind of – there were other media outlets out there who had written that it wasn't a sure thing yet, that he needed to win these last two games. And then I hear this from Tony, and I'm like, well, I didn't know which one's right. Which one's right. And then I get to, thinking about it. I'm like, well, Tony is as connected as anybody in the media.
He's the most connected.
The most connected, right? And then as I listened to the other media people too, they all of a sudden got quiet about it. And then you start hearing the things they're saying, and it's kind of starting to they're all kind of marching to the same beat, so to speak, saying the same thing without saying it, exactly as direct as Tony did. So, but they're all kind of hinting towards it. So I think that's happening. I think he's coming back. The other thing I found interesting, which I'm sure you may want to talk about, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but was Brad Howell's response to that.
Yeah.
And how much he is beating the Neal Brown drum lately, like more so than ever.
Man, look, he's so smug about it too, and I really have a lot of respect for Brad Howell and the Three Guys cast. I really, truly do. It's just that he won't budge any direction, the other direction on Neal, and some of the things that he's faltered on. And while I'm not against Neal Brown coming back for 2024, I still wanted to see us beat Baylor first, right?
Mhm.
And so you mean to tell me, Couz, that if we go out there and lay an egg against Baylor and we go up, down to end the season, we're supposed to feel good about that? I just can't. I can't accept that, man. You know, like, and I
Well,
don't
yeah,
think Mountaineer Nation would allow Ren Baker to. I don't know,
yeah,
but as far as what Brad said, uh, but that's kind of what I'm getting at is, he's this confident, and he threw out all these wonky kind of stats. I mean, he was really reaching. I mean, it's on the clip there about teams that have beaten certain teams
yeah.
above 500 in the league. What would your take?
Well, I mean, and not even this clip, but if you go back and watch the last 2 to 3 episodes, 4 episodes, I don't know how far back you go, of 3 guys, almost every episode, they have the textual healing segment at the end, and people are texting in about the coaching situation. Almost every single time he has what you called smug comment to make about how basically trying to make fans feel like we're idiots. Any fan out there who thinks Neal Brown should be gone is an idiot. That's basically the attitude he's displaying to me, right or wrong. And again, I watch almost every episode, so I respect them. They're great at what they do, but in this particular case, it's almost like saying, I don't care if you listen to our show all day long, every day. If you think Neal Brown's a bad coach, you're a moron. I mean, that's kind of the tone
That's how it comes off.
that Brad is coming off with there. And it's
Right.
smug. You're right. It's smug. And it's almost like he's got an agenda, actually, to me, that he's making a point. Whether he's been told to do it or not is another question we'll never know the answer to. That it's almost like he's making a point to try to get everybody on board with Neal coming back, or at least to make it clear to the fan base that, hey, this is what's happening. You need to get behind it. It's almost because it seems like their tone has changed all of a sudden. I mean, before they didn't really talk about it much, and now all of a sudden it's like all of a sudden they've dug their heels in pro Neal Brown, on every episode, and it was a weird dynamic.
I agree. Yeah, I've never heard of this dug in, and and maybe we're not giving him enough credit that he really believes in this roster and what we got coming back, and really thinks that that at the end of the day you beat who's on the schedule, and some people do believe that. Plus, we have been playing 2 Power 5 games, and Tony made that point as well. But has been an odd shift, and it's not like it's been subtle either. It's been basically like, I don't know, man. It's almost like they had to keep quiet until they got a little bit in an advantageous position with this, and then they could kind of flaunt it a little bit. And it's not like I was rooting for Neal Brown not to come back ever. It was just that I wanted more for the Mountaineers.
Right.
It's not a Neal Brown thing. It's we want to be. Look what Kansas did this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually beat a ranked team. They actually did some things that we aspire to do in less time. Is it so upsetting that we wanted to do that, and do it sooner than Kansas did? I don't think so.
No.
And if it wasn't the same pattern repeating itself on the road against an opponent that's good, you can, they like to say better than you on their podcast and make it sound better for them to say, but going to that Oklahoma game, you can say better than you all you want, but they were coming off 2 losses, and yeah, they were fired up and they played their best game of the year. But going into that, I don't think that, to me, to compete like BYU did, the team you just destroyed the week before that, and was proven that next week against BYU that it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. You just laid an egg. And to me, that's what happened. And you can't promise me that it won't happen again. So there's trepidation for me, and it probably will be. I can get behind a lot. We've talked about it several times. The roster coming back. We've been told by sources the NIL situation is healthy. They'll probably be able to retain most of the guys they want to keep. There are going to be some head scratchers, but at the end of the day, we'll probably have a pretty exciting roster going into next year, barring a Bob Huggins type situation. So I can't explain the tone shift for three guys and Brad specifically because Hoppy has always been fairly neutral, but even he went into the Neal Brown corner yesterday or Sunday, I guess it was, whenever they recorded that. So yeah, so and then him saying it hasn't even been a question for a while now. That was another thing that really caught me off guard.
I agree. I caught that too. And I'm like, dude, we just won our 7th game less than a week. Yesterday, they recorded this on Sunday. They had just won their 7th game of the year. So they're telling me that 6-6 was going to be good enough, which I kind of have a problem with, to be honest.
Well, the powers that be, and they are the powers that be, if they're willing to accept it, then that's what it's going to be. And we can't change it.
We can't. But it's a little
we'll be here to talk about it.
It's aggravating though that they're okay accepting mediocrity. And I'm not saying 8-4 is mediocrity or even 7-5, but 6-6 would be mediocrity. And 6-6, in my opinion, in your 5th year, would be cause for a change, or at least it would be fair to ask for change, and to try to poo-poo anybody who doesn't agree with that. Or who believes that way is just nonsense. People have a right to their opinions, and a fan has a right to be a fan and has a right to be disappointed and have high expectations.
Yeah, right. And I feel like you and I try to remain as neutral in things as we can. Like, and even in this situation, I feel like we're giving them credit where it's due, but we're also pointing out things that we don't agree with. It's not like we're one side or the other. We're not dying on any hill. So those of you that are watching, don't think that we're anti-Neal Brown or pro-Neal Brown necessarily, but we're just talking about this. We're just having a discussion, right? So don't draw any conclusions from it. Just listen to it for what it is. And I had, some issues with the way this thing went down and kind of how it was announced, because I don't know. Maybe this was one of the ways that, people have been saying they were expecting this thing from Ren Baker. Maybe this was the prelude. And just because there's nobody that knows more than Tony Caridi. He's on the practice field every single day. He works with Neal hand in hand for 5 years now. Neal trusts him. He does not release information about West Virginia program more than we need to know each week on that podcast or sports line or whatever it is they do. And he knows it all. Like literally knows it all. That's my belief anyway. I don't think there's anything Tony doesn't know. So, and I went and checked with another source of mine just to be sure. I asked him, I said, and he said, yeah, he'd be shocked now that if he doesn't come back. So, and this is somebody that's extremely plugged in too. So
yeah,
this is the direction we're trending.
Yep.
So we might as well kind of just put our wish list to bed if you had one, a Jimbo wish list, whatever it is. Now, if I don't want to lose the Baylor, and I hope nobody was out there rooting for them to lose to the Bearcats. I don't agree with that either. But if you were, might want to question that a little bit. Just like I don't want them to lose to Baylor, because at the end of the day, if we lose to Baylor, we're just going to be 7-5 with the same situation. So we might as well be 8-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we haven't had 8 wins since 2018, so it'd be a nice change. Well, heck, we ain't had 7 wins for that matter. But 8, to me, 8 just sounds a lot better than 7.
And 9 is like
9 will be even better. And hopefully it gets us in a better bowl game against a better opponent, and it builds some excitement around the program. That's the key. That's why 8 wins versus 7 wins, it matters. But yeah, I just don't. And it makes me wonder too, Paul, if all the Jimbo talk may have expedited them saying this on their show. I don't know that they make that statement if there's not all this talk out there about Jimbo. And I think they probably, maybe that was a subtle way of them trying to shut everybody up. I don't know.
And then they mentioned Jimbo,
Yeah.
So they threw that in there. So, Couz, real quick before we go any further, man, plug all your stuff. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find us. Drop your socials, which are at the bottom.
Yeah. Find me on YouTube at Couz's Corner. Find me on, I have a website, couzescorner.com, where there's some blog posts over there you can check out about Mountaineer basketball and football. Find Paul and I both on Hoops from the Hills, where we cover West Virginia basketball. Last night we did a post-game live stream about the SMU game and also about Ren Baker and some comments he had to make, or he had on Twitter. And so come check that out. And obviously I'm on Twitter at Couz206.
Yep. So that's pretty much the big and small of it. So Neal Brown will be back in 2024, it looks like. I don't know what a Baylor loss would do to that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't think it changes anything. I mean, unless we go out and get
it
dog
changes
walked.
Right.
I don't think
where
it
the
matters.
outcry is just so crazy.
I don't even think that matters at this point. Gordon
Right.
Gee likes Neal Brown. Ren Baker likes Neal Brown. The board seems to like Neal Brown.
Yeah.
I don't think the donors have a problem with Neal Brown. They just want to win. And if he's winning and they see the program moving in the right direction, I think they're okay keeping him on board. And apparently that's what they see. So,
and you get to 8, you get to 9. There's no denying that it's moving in the right direction.
Yep.
I think we haven't got there yet. We're only at 7. And every single one of these wins really matters at this point in time. When the poll, we don't want to be where we were at the beginning of this year, pick 14th, guys. We can't continue to be viewed this way. There's going to come a time where we're going to run out of time to get back at least some semblance of where we were. And I don't know if we ever will, but there's no reason we can't in this conference if the right things are in place. I truly believe that. I truly believe we can be a top 3 or 4 team in this conference yearly. And that's all I want in life. That's really all I want for Christmas. So don't forget to like the video, guys. If you don't like the video, we'd really appreciate that. Feed the algorithm that I call the monster. Don't forget to subscribe to Mountaineer Paul Talks Football if you're not a subscription. If you don't have a subscription here, guys, it's free. What are you waiting on? And also drop a comment below. Let me know how you feel about the Neal Brown situation. Let Couz know. You can address either one of us specifically, and I'll let him know if you have any comments for him. You can also check him out at Couz's Corner, like we said, at the website. What's the name of it again, Couz?
CouzesCorner.com.
So that's really easy to remember. And by the way, at Couz206 in the bottom, it's variety, not his thing when it comes to branding himself, which is a good thing.
That's right. Make it easy, baby.
So, yeah, make it easy. So, also, guys, I do have memberships now. I didn't get everything done this year I wanted to do with the memberships. Next year, I'll have a better plan for that. I was just really kind of in uncharted waters with it. And a lot of the things that I had wanted to do, which was like, do live streams with you guys and watch games with you guys, I just don't have the technology for yet, like just a laptop simply. So just things like that, guys. And I will get there. Just stick with me, man, if you can. And I appreciate y'all's time. I really do. Couz, you got anything else for everybody here? And
buddy, I've spoke my piece. I'm good.
Okay, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
As always, guys, this has been another edition of Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. This episode is over. Couz and I are out.
This is for camera. Tim.